Debbie, we might really have to have your voice synthesized so that Storytel can just read it in your voice.
Yeah, it would be a lot better. So, I'm gonna ask you a question, Jodio, as part of my demo. Is that okay?
Of course.
All right. So, if you like really boil down what we do and pull back all the noise and everything else, what is it that we do?
We I always think about it as a three-step process. So we ingest data, typically messy data, unstructured data. We perform an action on that data and we send the action to some destination, whether it is a chat thread or someday action via email. So ingest, transform, apply.
Yeah, that's good. So, I think the rubber always meets the road. We build a prompt that gets sent to an LLM, an LLM responds, and people are either happy or not happy, right? A big part of that, as you said, is the ingestion process. So, as we know, like that's improved a lot just in the last couple of months because we move certain content type to use, multimodal LLM to extract tables, etc. So what we're doing with CSVs or really structured data as a whole is the same thing conceptually. We're just now providing a different mechanism to get data out of something so that we can build prompts better, right? So we've had a restriction thus far to 1,000 rows of structured data, mainly because of the context windows limitations with LLMs. And this is going to move us past that, right? So we'll be able to support much, much larger data sets, including like millions of rows, depending on the questions that are asked. So I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to just show you how we're doing this and what the outcome looks like. So as Jodio just mentioned a minute ago, somebody submits a prompt. We then take that prompt today. We just have a single mechanism that gets data to, fill out that context window, which is our search service. This is going to add another mechanism, which will be executing SQL queries against a database, right? And so to do that and support it, the first thing on the ingestion side is we create this metadata, which I will real quick. Let me put this in the chat for everyone. So on that ingestion front, we create metadata, and then that metadata is passed to an LLM in this form, which is just markdown. So we give them the schema. We always use the same table name, and then that gets replaced when we do the execution. As part of this, we also extract the enums. So if there is less than 100 distinct values in a column, we capture that in the metadata so that it can be referenced in the queries. And we're also including up to 100 rows of sample data that as part of this. And then what the LLM will do will come back and give us an SQL query that looks like this. And Claude Sonnet 4 is exceptionally good at this, much better than any of the ones I've played with in the past doing this. And then at that point, we actually load up the data set into an ephemeral database in memory. We execute it, and then we generate markdown table that looks like this after the execution. And then that will be passed to the LLM actually answering the initial prompt. So pretty neato.
Who can paraphrase what Shelby just described? And if you need me to, I can, but I think Mark might be about to.
What I'm hearing Shelby say is when we ingest CSV files, what we're doing first is I guess creating, whoops, let me refresh this. Yeah, when we're loading in or ingesting CSV files, it's extracting the metadata, get creating a table name and what it allows us to do is to create SQL queries for that table, which allows Storytel to better process that data whenever someone answers a question. Am I getting that right, Shelby?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's a simple version, and that's
Yeah.
where it is right now. It's really that simple. So, um, yeah, well done, Mark.
Shelby, can we ask you some questions?
Yeah, I might even have an answer. You never know.
If I were to upload an Excel file that has multiple tabs, does each tab effectively get turned into its own little mini DuckDB ephemeral database?
So we're not at the point um, of doing that. What we really need to do with Excel, which I've talked about before, is every tab needs to become its own asset. But yeah, so what will happen in those cases is based on the scope of the query, we will create a data set, which is a layer above what we've just seen here, which is multiple tables. All of those tables will get loaded into the same um, instance of DuckDB, and that way you can execute joins, etc.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I was curious about is like, how do all these little DuckDB databases kind of like all work together? I'm basically writing SQL across all of them, any of them. Like, how are we knowing effectively what data to return back to the LLM? It's an SQL query that's written by the LLM. But then, like, how do we know what to write the SQL query against?
It'll
And
be
it's
it'll be
good,
based on the scope. So
right?
on the inbound side, there's a scope.
Yeah.
We store this metadata at an asset level, which we can create multiple instances of the metadata for an asset. So, and then based on the number of those metadatas, we'll have to spin it up. The challenge with this is, of course, like everything, it's got a limit, right? Like we're not going to be able to load up 50 different tables at once. Like that's just not going to work. It'll be way too slow. So, I haven't got to the point of like, what does that limit need to be yet? But, there'll be a limit probably in the ballpark of like 10, something like that.